Hey guys, welcome back to that sports stuff video. Today we'll be talking about the New York Giants and their offseason plan. This is part 4 of a 32-part series of both pre-NFL Combine and post-NFL Combine. I'm doing an offseason plan for every single team in the NFL. So if you guys do enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into this video. So obviously, to start off the video, the New York Giants, they kept Brian Daboll, right? They decided they're going to keep Brian Daboll. I believe they kept both defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator. They kept Joe Shane. So no coaching changes yet again for the 4th video in a row. I've been waiting to get to the point where, the teams that fired coaches start coming up and I can talk about the new hires, but no changes for the New York Giants. So good for them, I guess. I guess. First off, obviously, as always, we're going to start with our cuts/trades. As you can see, the New York Giants have $43 million currently in NFL cap. So let's work with it, right? Yeah, $43 million. What is the first cut we're going to be doing? It is going to be to Jermaine Illuminor. Jermaine Illuminor had a 63 PFF grade, 71 pass blocking, 57 run blocking. He's still a solid veteran tackle option. You could keep him, but money saved is worth, a chance of improving, saving $6.5 million on the cap. You can roll that into a younger, better tackle, but if you want to keep him, I'm not against it. You want to get better through the draft, can maybe trade for late round pick instead. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that are having tackle issues, and having Jermaine Illuminor, who's a solid veteran option, I don't think he's he's a top 20 starter, but he's he can at least start for you in the NFL. So maybe there is a team out there that would trade for him, or maybe you keep him because of other options on the team that you don't like, or you can't draft anyone. But I decided, we're going to cut Jermaine Illuminor, save $6.5 million against the cap, and just move on, let him go somewhere else. So yeah, additional 6.5. And next we'll be trading Evan Neal. Evan Neal, rough. It's been rough. He has a 61 PFF grade, a 50 pass blocking, 80 run blocking. He hasn't really panned out in the NFL. I even think that run blocking is a little overhyped. I do not think he's a good run blocker or good pass blocker. I think he could swing in the guard and play better, right? I think at tackle you're kind of on your own island, and he's not agile enough, and he's not strong enough to be on his own island. So maybe move him in the guard, put him in between a solid tackle and a solid center, and he can blossom. But for me, I just don't think it's worth it to be on the New York Giants. We need to cut bait. Lots of teams to take the chance on him. You could net an early day 3 pick, right? He was a former first round pick. A lot of people are under utilizing and under expecting what you're going to get in a trade market, right? People are saying a 6th round pick, a 7th round pick. I think it's worth a 4th round pick. He's still young, still on his rookie contract. Again, I think he does have the skills and the length to play guard in the NFL. So San Francisco will be trading a 2025 4th round pick, number 112 overall, for Evan Neal, a former 1st round pick, who honestly, at the time of the draft, was the right pick, right? A lot of people are gonna bash the New York Giants for drafting him and trading trading him away for a 4th. But unfortunately, it just hasn't worked out, right? Their offensive line coach has not developed him. He hasn't developed, whatever one you want to blame. It just hasn't worked out. So trade him for a 4th round pick. It sucks. You're going back 100 picks 3 rounds later, or 3 drafts later. But for the Giants, they need to move on, right? He's not playing well. He's, from what I've seen online, has been an issue with the locker room. So move on, recoup a 4th round pick in value. And San Fran, a team who's been solid at getting the most out of their offensive line, even if it's been poor. I think they're a solid team to develop Evan Neal at guard, or maybe let him develop at tackle. But for me, I'm going to guard. So Evan Neal, Jermaine Illuminor, cut and trade. That saved $10.5 million. And here's the restructures. Brian Burns restructuring at 16.1. You just traded a multiple 1st round picks for him. You're going to keep him. Dexter Lawrence was one of the best D tackles in the league this year. You're going to keep him for 9.8. And Andrew Thomas, one of the best tackles in the NFL, at 12.5. You save yourself $38.5 million keeping and restructuring these 3 franchise players. And then your re-signings, you now have $93 million, right? You went from 43 to 93 in just a couple of moves. And that is really impressive and really needed for a team that needs to make a lot of signings. So starting off the re-signings, we're going with Adoree Jackson, their number 1 corner. Last season, he had 24 tackles, 0 interceptions, 0 forced fumbles. Overall, he had an okay season. For me, I think Adoree Jackson is a mid-tier cornerback 2 on a playoff contender. But for the New York Giants, he's our cornerback number 1. He's the real only veteran cornerback on this team still. All their guys outside of Adoree Jackson are on rookie contracts. So Adoree is kind of like the veteran in that room, and he's helping these guys get used to the NFL. He was drafted by New York as well originally. I believe he then went to switched to the Carolina Panthers and then traded back to the New York Giants. I see him sticking around as a locker room guy, right? There's a lot of guys in the league that just somehow stick around. I think he's still a starter level, right? Like, a mid-tier cornerback too is still a starter in the NFL. So Adoree Jackson being their cornerback number one, him, Deontay Johnson, Cordell Flott, Deontay Banks, sorry, Cordell Flott. Like, they have corners that I like, and I think Adoree Jackson is the best of those three right now. But I think Deontay Banks, if he can develop into a cornerback number one, Adoree Jackson is a solid cornerback number two. Sign him to a 2-year, $18 million extension, $10 million guaranteed. That is 55% guaranteed. Get him on a good guaranteed number. Next, we have Jason Pinnock, their safety. He had 62 tackles, 0 interceptions or forced fumbles last year, but he did have 3 sacks and 7 pressures. He's not the best deep safety, but I like him as a chess piece, right? You move him around the secondary, move him around in the linebacker room. He plays like a hybrid small linebacker. He's not the biggest guy in the NFL, right? He's not a big safety, but he lays a good hit. He had 14 run stops last year on top of his 3 sacks and 7 pressures. So the good run stopper, good, strong safety playing the line of scrimmage, but he's not a good deep safety guy. His passer rating allowed wasn't great. Another guy that I do see sticking around for a solid contract. 2 years, $11.5 million, 7.25 guaranteed at 63% guaranteed. That is a sweet spot where we want to get these guaranteed contracts. And again, he's still young enough. I think he's like 26. He can still get better. But this past season, with the most snaps, he definitely was not as good as he was last year. But this past season, still really solid safety. Next, we have Azeez Ojulari. This year, he had 12 tackles, 7 sacks, and 14 run stops. He had a very solid bookend to a rookie contract. The last 2 years, I really think Azeez Ojulari, while his sack numbers may have been down, I think he played better overall, right? Would like to see him in one more season opposite Brian Burns. I thought this season, he had the best all-around season. Like, he an all-around player in the run and in the pass rushing game. But again, I want to see him one more season. Was it a fluke season where he played really well, or was it a foundation block to the rest of his career? I could see him getting poached on a similar deal elsewhere. I think there's a lot of teams that could use a rotation pass rusher who can get 5 to 10 sacks. That's very needed in the NFL. I think Azeez Ojulari could get poached somewhere else. But, he hasn't matched his 10-sack rookie season where everyone thought, oh my God, the second-round pick is the next coming of God. But, Azeez Ojulari, good pass rusher, good run stopper. Nothing too crazy. 1 year, $4 million, fully guarantee it. So he's going to be on the team next year. But again, I want to see another season of Azeez and Brian Burns on the opposite side of the defensive line, because we saw what he was this past year, right? In my opinion, was his best run-stopping season, and he still put up 7 sacks in limited minutes, right? He wasn't the all-time, full-time starter. This lets him be the full-time starter opposite of Brian Burns. Next, we have Drew Lock. I know a lot of people are going to be surprised I'm going Drew Lock, but I'm going to go Drew Lock. 1,000 yards, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He looked okay in limited time, right? I think Brian Daboll found his potential backup quarterback of the future, right? Obviously, Drew Lock wants to be a starter, so we're going to give him a Baker Mayfield-esque contract to come back and compete to be the starter. He had a great game against the Colts. I think it was one of the best per EPA games of all time. Like, I'm being serious. I think it was the best EPA play game of all time since they started recording stats. So Drew Lock, not the worst quarterback in the world. I think he definitely should have gotten another year in Denver as a starter. I think they didn't let him develop quick enough, so it kind of stunted his development. He looked okay in Seattle, comes to New York, looked pretty solid in his short time. But I would be interested in seeing him of a season of him, and maybe just being the backup and then coming in for limited minutes if the rookie isn't playing well. But Drew Lock, yep, 1 year, $8 million. That's exactly what Baker Mayfield signed 2 years ago when he went to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I could see this being like 1 year, $5 million, 1 year, $6 million. Because again, he wasn't a number 1 overall pick. But Drew Lock, I still think deserves another chance to either start or compete to start in the New York Giants system. So Drew Lock, 1 year, $8 million, fully guaranteed. He's making a team, whether as a starter or the backup. Free agency going to $67.8 million. That's a good chunk of change to go and get guys to fix this roster. Starting off, we're going to bring some competition for Drew Lock in Desmond Ridder. This season had 458 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his limited play. He's still a young option at quarterback. He's only in year 4 of the NFL right now. He has some upside. I like his arm. I like his deep ball accuracy. I think there are some issues with this game, obviously, but I think he also has some mobility. A good arm that I think Daboll is going to like, right? Him and Drew Lock, I think could be a solid 1-2 chance of, hey, these guys are still young. They had some upside. Let's give them a full season to play and build the rest of the team around the quarterback position. Like Locke, had only one season as a starter, and while he wasn't the best starter in the NFL, I think they definitely, like, again, I understand why teams move on from these guys so quickly, but I think Desmond Ridder and Drew Lock both deserved another chance to start. So for me, let him fight for day one job / the backup, right? Let him and Drew Lock go at it during training camp. Whoever wins that job, congratulations, right? Congratulations, you're the starter quarterback, or you're the backup. Or this, Marcus Mariota. I think Marcus Mariota is a starter in the New York Giants next year. I purposely put him last because I wanted everyone to have a sense of, like, what are they doing? This is what they're doing. Marcus Mariota with the Washington Commanders, 364 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Yes, I think they will have 3 quarterbacks all signed from free agency, and that is what they're going to roll into week 1 with, is either Marcus Mariota, Desmond Ridder, or Drew Lock. And I want you guys to notice the contracts. So Drew Lock, 1 year. Drew Lock, 1 year, $8 million, fully guaranteed. Desmond Ridder, 1 year, $2 million, only $1 million guaranteed. And Marcus Mariota, 1 year, $5.5 million, fully guaranteed. I think Drew Lock and Marcus Mariota are going to battle it out for quarterback number 1, with Desmond Ridder being that third quarterback trying to fight to be on the roster. And whoever wins that job, the second option will be the backup, and the third option will be a practice squad guy. I fully believe that. I don't see them carrying 3 quarterbacks into the season. I think they have 3 quarterbacks by training camp, though, and all of them will be vets. He's only 31. He played well this year in limited snaps when asked to play. He had 2 games of 2 touchdowns and no interceptions with nearly 200 yards in the Commanders' offense. I would see him favored to be the week 1 starter. If I got the report that it was Drew Lock, Desmond Ridder, and Marcus Mariota, I would think Marcus Mariota is going to win that job. Drew Lock be the backup, and Desmond Ridder is the third string. That's what I would think. And I think this could have a really fun battle in training camp of 3 guys who all got moved on by their previous teams, all coming to one culmination spot and fighting it out for the starter. And I fully believe Marcus Mariota would win, Drew Lock would be the backup, and Desmond Ridder would have given the option of quarterback number 3 or to get cut and sign somewhere else. But this is what I would do. Go Marcus Mariota. I like Marcus Mariota enough to where I think he can still start in the NFL. Again, only 31. In Washington, played really solid, played okay in Philadelphia last year. He has a really nice arm, solid accuracy, good mobility still. I think Marcus Mariota deserves another chance to compete for a starting job. Next, we have Michael Hoyt from the Los Angeles Rams. This season had 28 tackles, 4 sacks, and 23 pressures. He's been a solid D tackle for a few years now. I believe he was an undrafted free agent coming out of college, and the Rams have developed him to a really good role player. Minutes got taken up by both Kobe Turner and Braden Fisk. You know, both guys, Kobe Turner was a first-round pick, and Braden Fisk a second. So those guys are going to start, and they're playing really well. I think he'd be a true starter in New York, opposite of Dexter Lawrence. Him and Dexter Lawrence pass rushing would be lethal. He led the league in assisted tackles as well, so we know he converges on the runner. He's a good pass rusher. I think Michael Hoyt to New York is something that I can bet on. 3 years, $26.5 million, $14 million guaranteed, only 52% of it guaranteed. I think that's something that, you can get a good value out of Michael Hoyt, and wherever he lands, I think he's gonna be a starter day 1. I'm excited to see when Michael Hoyt lands. Him and Greg Gaines in Tampa Bay are my favorite interior defensive tackles that I think are underrated and deserve more hype. So him finally being a free agent, I'm excited. Next, we have Daniel Brunskill. Last season had a 55 PFF grade, 56 pass blocking, 55 run blocking. He gave me an average starting right tackle or right guard. We moved on from Evan Neal. We cut Jermaine Luminor. Bring in Daniel Brunskill for even cheaper. He allowed 0 sacks in Tennessee last year. He played both left tackle, guard, and center this year. He can fill in if injuries happen, if he's not the starter. I fully believe Daniel Brunskill could win the starting job at right tackle. But if you do draft someone and they beat him out, he played left tackle, he played right tackle, guard, and center in his career, so he can be that swing 6 tackle, that swing 6 offensive lineman that every NFL team is looking for right now, and back up all those positions, and you feel competent in 6 starters, right? In a 5-starter group, you have 6 starters. 1 year, $4 million, fully guarantee it. He's making the team next year. Next, we have Marquise Hollywood Brown. This season had 9 receptions, 95 yards, and 0 touchdowns. He only played in the final 2 games due to injury. Both games, he had 4 receptions for 45 yards. I fully expect him this postseason to get like 2 or 3 touchdowns because I think that Patrick Mahomes has really missed a good, solid deep threat. McCole Hardman has been okay, but I think Marquise Hollywood-Brown is that true deep threat he's been waiting for since he got injured. But spans out to 68 receptions, 765 yards this season, which is solid, right? For someone who only played in 2 games, you spread out those stats: 68 receptions, 765 yards. I think he's still getting his legs underneath him. I wouldn't be shocked if it spanned out to more like 68 receptions, 900 yards, and an obviously I couldn't make up touchdown stats, but 3 or 4 touchdowns on deep balls, that's pretty solid for what you're about to pay him. Imagine his average per reception, as I said, will increase when he's healthier. I think he'd be a true deep threat next to Malik Neighbors and Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Malik Neighbors is that number 1 possession receiver, Wan'Dale the slot, then Marquise Hollywood-Brown the speedster, who can, again, still run a couple of routes really well. I think that's really solid. I think that can really help out your quarterback, whoever you do sign. Next, we have Juwan Johnson for the New Orleans Saints. He had 50 receptions, 548 yards, and 3 touchdowns this past season. He's a very underrated possession receiver. Again, another a guy who I think just hasn't gotten the national acclaim because he's on a bad team, right? He can be a safety valve for your QB. I don't see him sticking around in New Orleans, right? I really don't see it. They're in cap hell. I think they're going to go younger at tight ends. And I think Juwan Johnson could go somewhere else and finally get paid. I think he will shine once he gets more targets, right? If he can get like 90 targets, get 65 receptions, 750 yards, 7 touchdowns, that's a really good tight end season. And that's what that would average out to if you expanded his stats out. So it's a 3-year, $30 million contract, $22 million guaranteed, 75% of it guaranteed. So you're betting on the veteran that you know can play really well to come in, start for you, and he replaces Darren Waller, who retired last year. You have Daniel Bellinger who can back him up. But I think Juwan Johnson is the right scheme guy for what you want to do. Going into the draft, you have $38 million. Again, you want to save about $9 million for your draft guys. So you have $29 million to still sign guys or roll it over. So if you want to go for another wide receiver, another offensive lineman, another linebacker, even though I think linebacker is actually one of the strengths of this team in Micah McFadden and Bobby Okereke. Safety, if you want to add another safety next to Jabril Peppers and Jason Pinnock. Another veteran corner next to Dory Jackson. But I think Dory Jackson, Cardo Float, and Deontay Banks is a solid cornerback room. So for me, probably another offensive lineman or 2, another weapon, maybe another running back, a veteran running back. But $29 million to go and do whatever else you need to do, and $9 million for the draft. And speaking of the draft, here's what I'm doing. So at number 1, if I'm the New York Giants, yes, Abdul Carter is cool. Yes, Mason Graham is cool. But we need to protect our quarterback, right? This offensive line has been an issue ever since Saquon was drafted. Grab Will Campbell at number 3 and move on, right? You know you're going to have Andrew Thomas, your franchise left tackle. Let's draft our franchise right tackle. We saw with the Los Angeles Chargers what they did with Joe Alt after drafting Rashawn Slater. We're doing the exact same thing, right? Build one of the best offensive lines in the NFC starting right now. So Will Campbell, franchise right tackle, amazing run blocker, amazing pass blocker. He will be a top 5 pick. He'll be the first offensive lineman off the board. I fully believe in Will Campbell and becoming a franchise tackle. Just take the blue chip prospect. Again, Abdul Carter, Mason Graham, both really good options at number 3. Maybe you can trade down because someone wants Travis Hunter. But if I'm the Giants and I'm sitting at 3 and Will Campbell's sitting there, I want the franchise tackle. Then at number 34, I am grabbing another young corner. I'm grabbing Jahdae Barron from Texas. He had a great season this year. I truly believe Jahdae Barron could be a cornerback number 1. So now your cornerback room is a Dory Jackson, Deontay Banks, Cardo Float with Jahdae Barron developing in year 1. He may even beat out a Dory Jackson throughout the season. Maybe, you're 1-4, 1-5. You go, you know what? Just throw Jahdae out there, let him develop. But Jahdae Barron, again, really crisp defender. Always turns his head when he's getting targeted. Doesn't allow a lot of targets either. 15 yards downfield, he is elite. Closer to the line of scrimmage, he lets it slide sometimes, but good frame. I think he's like 6'1". Really good frame for a corner. I like Jahdae Barron out of Texas in the top of the second. Then at 65, grabbing Deion Walker, one of my most common D tackles I'm going to be drafting. I think Deion Walker is going to be a really good role player. Imagine him, Dexter Lawrence, and Michael Hoyt. Deion Walker is a very good run defender, solid pass rusher, big, wide body as well at the D tackle position. I think he could be really good in this Giant scheme next to Dexter Lawrence. Then Pat Bryant at 104, a really good deep threat who has a really good route tree. And again, he's like 6'3", 215. I like Pat Bryant from Illinois. I'm not going to be shocked if he goes in day 2, right? If he's a fringe 3rd round guy. But Pat Bryant, if we can get him in the 4th round at 104, I am all for it. Then an Evan Neal trade for 112, I'm going to be drafting his replacement in Connor Colby. Connor Colby out of Iowa. I've been saying I think he could be a starter in the NFL year 1. I'm standing on that. I will not get off that ledge. I think his footwork, his leverage, the way he moves guys from the line of scrimmage at his not elite frame. I think he's like 6'2", 6'3", but he is constantly moving guys on the line of scrimmage in the run game and pass protection. He doesn't really get beat all that often by interior pressure. I like Connor Colby out of Iowa in the 4th round. That's great value. Then at 153, I'm taking a shot on Jackson Dart, right? I don't think he's going to last till round 5. I think he's going to be a day 2 guy. I think I could see round 3, round 4 him getting taken. Early round 4, late round 3. But if he's there in the 5th run, I think Jackson Dart definitely deserves to get drafted. I'm not his biggest fan. I've been saying that at work, actually. I think Jackson Dart has a really good arm, and he's really accurate downfield. But my issue with Jackson Dart is when he's under pressure, there's issues, right? I'm not going to say he's bad. There's issues. He's not great finding the check down option, taking the easy yards. He's trying to play hero ball all the time. If I'm the Giants, taking a shot on Jackson Dart in the 5th, you don't have any young quarterbacks on roster. I let Tommy DeVito walk. You let Daniel Jones, you cut him. You sign 3 veterans. Bring in Jackson Dart to be that rookie. Let him play out in his rookie contract. If you really suck, throw him out there. Throw him out there, see what Jackson Dart has in the NFL. Then Elijah Alston from Miami, solid pass rusher, really good at getting pressure, okay run defender. But for me, he's a pressure package kind of guy. If you're playing 5 wide, I wouldn't be shocked if you see Azeez Ojulari on the inside. And then, if you want to throw Elijah Alston on the outside, I think you can do that, but it's a 7th round pick. I'm going to be realistic. He's a pressure package guy. When you need to get pressure on a Hail Mary, you throw Elijah Alston out there. Then at 243, Rock Taylor, pure deep threat. That is all he does. He runs very fast. He runs down the sideline, and he has good ball in the air skills. That's Rock Taylor from Memphis. There's nothing else. Good size, like 6'4". That's it. That's all he's going to do for you in the NFL. Then Eric Gentry, again, one of my favorite 7th round picks. I always do. Really good pass rusher at linebacker, but he plays stand-up linebacker. He's not an edge rusher. He's kind of like Nolan Smith from the Philadelphia Eagles. He's an inside linebacker, but he rushes the inside gaps really well in the defense. But again, 255, the Giants already have solid linebackers. I just don't see him ever playing in the NFL, except if he gets to the Giants. He's not going to beat out Micah McFadden. He's not going to beat out Bobby Okereke. But again, Eric Gentry on special teams, the way he's able to rush the gaps on the defensive line, maybe he can do that in special teams. Maybe he becomes a really good special teamer, rushes the gaps on special team plays when they're punting. Maybe that's what Eric Gentry can be really good at. But gave me a B-. I disagree. They gave me an F on the Jackson Dart in the 5th round. That's a good value. And Pat Bryant, I see going early day 4, day 3, late day 2. But if they don't see that, it's whatever. I think big body, solid wide receiver, that's going to get drafted pretty early in the NFL draft. But yeah, that is my mock draft, my offseason plan for the New York Giants. Lots of quarterbacks taken into the room and see who beats out who. You draft your franchise tackle. You already have your franchise left tackle. You draft your franchise right tackle. You fix the inside of the offensive line through the free agency pool. You get an outside corner that can start for you. Solid rotation guys around the room, and then a potential franchise quarterback in the 5th. Right, a potential of a big arm guy. You sign a lot of wide receivers and tight ends. You get guys who can get pressure, and you retain the guys who help you win. But if you guys enjoy, please like, comment, subscribe. Episode 5 will be out tomorrow, and I'll see you guys then. Peace and bye.